On this episode, I got to sit down with Sheriff Dicus. We talked about his service to his community and the importance that comes with that. 34 years of service, to be exact. We talked about so many different aspects of what being a sheriff consists of. Tune in, find out what those things are. Sheriff Dicus, it's so good to have you on the podcast.
Paul, I'm really glad to be here. Thank you for taking the time to visit with me.
No, truly, it's an honor. Thank you for taking the time. I know you're very busy, incredibly busy, so this means a lot to us here at National Corps and to me as well. I want to kind of jump in, starting off where you're from. Tell us a little bit about, your upbringing, how you got introduced to law enforcement, and was it in the blood? Is it, that kind of stuff?
Well, it's kind of in the family. It's also in the blood. But I grew up in Joshua Tree, California, not too far away from here. The Joshua Tree National Monument's a big thing.
Yeah.
I can say when I was a kid, it wasn't as big of a thing as it is now for hikers and everything. But growing up in that area, I went to elementary school out there and then high school. And 2 days after high school, I went in the military. But during that time of growing up, my family came out here because of agriculture. My father went to Cal Poly, San Luis Obispo, and took an agricultural job in Cucamonga long before it was Rancho Cucamonga. And that's what brought us out here to the county.
Incredible. What branch did you serve in?
So I served in the Army.
Army. I'm a Navy man.
Oh, yeah. Oh. Well, Army-Navy football game, and I think you're up right now,
great,
right?
Yep. It's a great. Well, thank you for your service.
And back at you.
Absolutely. So that's right. So your dad came out for agriculture. You graduated. Now, so you lived in Joshua Tree. That's kind of raised out there, born and raised Joshua?
Well, born in San Luis Obispo, but Joshua Tree is where I was raised out there in the kind of the mid-desert. And it was great childhood, a lot of different fun things to do, small town, so everybody knew everybody. But in that agricultural job that my dad went into, that company actually went belly up out here in the Cucamonga area. And at the time, my uncle was in law enforcement. So when you go back to in the blood, it was really started with my uncle. He worked for Santa Barbara County Sheriff's Department. And so when that company went belly up, my dad called my uncle and said, hey, I've got kids and a mortgage and, what do you think I should do? And my uncle says, I think the sheriff is hiring out there in San Bernardino County. And that's kind of the beginning of the journey. My father, 2 weeks later, was hired and was awaiting an academy date and started working in the jail system.
Wow, that's incredible. So when you went into the Army, did you know you were going to get into law enforcement after, or was that something you decided when you came home? Well,
there's a couple of careers I looked at. I thought first about being a pilot, and one of the things I discovered in this journey was that I'm colorblind, or what they call color deficient. Sure. So I had to take some special tests even to be in law enforcement. But I found that out actually going through the process to be in the Army. So long story short, I was a military policeman while I was in there. And my original plan, believe it or not, wasn't to come out and be a deputy sheriff. It was to be an FBI agent.
Ah, interesting. And what sidetracked that? Was it the schooling? Was it like, why not go FBI? What was it?
So it was pretty interesting. And of course, we all watched the TV shows, right? Mm-hmm. So what sidetracked that was while I being in the military, I was stationed the majority of the time at Fort Campbell, Kentucky, which is the home of the 101st Airborne Division.
That's right.
So while I was there, I actually loved the area. And there just weren't a lot of jobs for somebody that was exiting their tour of service. So I decided to come back home and then put the GI Bill to work and go to college. So I went to Cal State San Bernardino. But while I was in my educational journey going through college, they had a work-study program posted, and it was at the Department of Veterans Affairs. So when I got involved in that, it was really kind of like a dispatcher position for what a lot of people don't know is there's a such thing as the VA police.
Yep.
So I started working as kind of like a dispatcher for them, and the chief of police said, hey, weren't you in the military and you were a military policeman? I said, yeah. And he says, well, why are you doing this? I could hire you. I said, well, I'm going to school. I mean, if I can work nights, that'd be great. And he says, well, I'll tell you what, I'll work with your schedule. I'll put you on graveyard. And the next thing I knew, I was on a plane going to Little Rock, Arkansas, where their academy's at. And then I came out and then went to work for them.
Wow. That's awesome. I actually I was just at the VA recently, and I must admit, I ran a stop sign. And I didn't mean to, Sheriff, but I did run the stop sign. I got pulled over by the VA police, and they were the coolest guys. I got to say, they were super cool. They heard my accent. The guy was from Brooklyn, and he said, just go a little slower next time. And he gave me a pass. So
yeah, good deal.
Thought I'd throw that in there. So
well, that was my introduction to the federal system.
Gotcha.
And kind of going back to the direction I think we were going with this was pretty much why did I make a U-turn from the FBI? Well, the federal system, if we're talking about the Titanic, it turns very slowly. And my personality was a little bit quicker and a little bit more action. And as you can imagine, growing up with a dad that was in the sheriff's department, me telling him the whole time when I was a kid I wanted to be an FBI agent, I had to eat crow with my dad and tell him, nah, I'm going to try the sheriff's department.
Yeah, and, that makes sense.
And then 34 years later, here I am.
Well, action's what you get being a sheriff, I could imagine. Let's get into a little bit about that, because I think a lot of people don't know. Did you have to work in the jail systems? Sheriffs control the jail systems. Is that true?
That's true. So, Paul, every sheriff is mandated to run the jail systems in their county. Our jail system has a capacity of about 7,300 inmates. Our average daily population runs somewhere around 4,500 to 4,700 inmates. Wow. And we're the 7th largest jail system in the United States.
Wow.
And because San Bernardino County is so big, I've got larger jails. One's in Rancho Cucamonga, and I have another one up in the high desert, and then Central Detention Center, which is close to Sheriff's Headquarters in downtown San Bernardino. And then, as you can imagine, we patrol all the way out to Needles. So we have satellite jails in Barstow Station, Needles in our mountains, and a few other areas. So yes, jails are a big part of what a sheriff's department does.
Wow. And is that where you started off?
Yes.
Pretty quickly?
Yeah.
Is that usually where sheriff deputies start off in the jail systems and work
usually,
their way to the
yes.
street?
The majority of us start off in the jail, and actually I find that to be a good thing.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, is there a reason for it? Is it because the training you get in there and the dealing with inmates gives you a perspective of what you're dealing with on the street? Or
yeah, so you come out of the Sheriff's Academy and you learn about all things on patrol, about how to respond to, different incidences that could be going on at any given time. And we also put them through training in terms of the jail. But when you think about it, you work with people who have made those mistakes. You're around them constantly. You get a chance to talk to them. You learn the who, why, what, and when, and where are the things that they did. You also realize that, some of them, these are pretty smart people. And boy, if they applied some of the knowledge they have to doing good things, they'd probably rule the world. So it just gives you a different perspective. And you certainly learn about, local gangs, for instance, and things of that nature. And it just, in my opinion, gives you a better leg up. So when you do transfer out of the jail system and into patrol, you know a little bit more about what to expect, who you're going to be encountering, and just really how to treat people. You got to learn to talk on your feet.
Yeah.
And I think from a communication standpoint, that's one of the key things that we get when we work those jails.
That's amazing. That's something I never really thought about. I mean, the rapport is important, right? Because you kind of, I would imagine a lot of the people, especially if we're talking about gang activity, a lot of the people that are incarcerated, not all come out and make a 360-degree turn into rehabilitation. Some do, and we should focus on that. But a lot go right back to crimes and stuff. So I would imagine there's a rapport there. Like, you may see some of those inmates back out there on the street, and now that you guys have some kind of, what they're about.
No, you're absolutely right. That rapport is a big deal.
Yeah.
It's probably one of the biggest things that it's just like anything else. You think, okay, you could be working in a place that have some pretty hardcore individuals. And it just depends. Most people just wanted to be treated fairly. Yeah. And if you're known about treating people fairly before you even get out to patrol, so when you encounter some of those same folks, you've already established that relationship. You're not re-breaking the ice, so to speak. Right. They also know that there's incidents and some fights and things that happen in jail. A jail really is no different than a city.
Yeah.
We're talking about, we have a jail that's in the Rancho Cucamonga area, and it houses a little over 3,000 people. So it is a city. It's got hospitals, people that need, medical treatment. It's got fights that occur, a number of things that are all day long, 24/7.
How many things, just briefly, what would we not expect to hear that happen in those places? I mean, most of us think about jails and we think of the violence and the assaults and things like this, like a really bad place to be, which it I'm sure is. But has anything ever happened that stood out to you? Like, that was kind of like, wow, that's amazing.
Well, it's one of the things, Paul, I actually like to show off the jails. So if you were just part of a community group and you wanted to see what the inside of the jail is, in your mind, you have this very dungeon type of look, right? Like, wow, it's dark, it's not clean, and all these things. And I think you'd be surprised to see how cleanly it is. Very hospitalish is probably the way to describe it. And so when you walk in and you see how well run they are and how organized it is, and really the services that occur inside the walls of those facilities, people are genuinely amazed. And then what I think catches most people off guard is, like, for instance, because we work the 12-hour shifts where we're at, there are inmates that go through culinary programs. They actually cook for the people who work there.
Wow.
And they make amazing food, and the things that they learn, that's probably one of our greatest when we talk about rehabilitation. So when you tend to think of, sheriffs, right, or deputies, we have a big foot into the rehabilitation space as well, so that people aren't just there wasting their time. Some of them come in with mental health problems, addiction problems, and providing those services. So I think people are genuinely surprised about how undungeon-like a jail really is.
Yeah.
And then also at the same time, the services we do offer, and that there is a tremendous effort to try to give people a second chance.
Yeah.
And I can tell you from being a deputy sheriff and also talking to all of my deputies, it's pretty unique to have someone that may see you on the street. It's kind of scary at first, right? Oh gosh, or, hey, deputy, and they call you deputy, and it may be at the grocery store. And then that person a lot of the times tells you, hey, I've been out for 6 months, a year, 2 years, 15 years, a number of those things. But I remember you, and I just wanted you to know I'm doing good.
Wow.
And so that's a big deal. And so everybody thinks, oh, well, cops just want to job security, throw people in jail.
Right.
That's not the case. We have a number of success stories, and we want to see success stories and be really a part of somebody's journey like that.
I love that. And you've been doing this for 34 years?
34 years.
34 years. So your why is definitely intact and strong. I want to ask, what are the percentages? I don't know if you know exact percentages, but what are the percentages of people who are incarcerated for drug addictions or whatever addictions it is, or that actually rehabilitate and come out and become productive members back into society? Are the numbers higher or lower than what we imagine?
So the numbers aren't really high, and we do monitor some of those things, and it's probably become much more of a focus, I'd say, within the last decade than it ever has before about what really works. And this is the unfortunate crossover into politics. And when I say politics, it's because of how different groups feel. And it seems like everything nowadays that comes down the pike in terms of public safety either has a way to look at it if you subscribe to the red party or the blue party.
Yeah.
And the reality is being a sheriff, it's a nonpartisan office.
Right.
So we just want to do the right thing.
Right.
And the right thing by people. So when I say political, that sometimes you see a lot of people stand on that box to try to make it political. I try to make it is what works. Yeah. What works for somebody that's suffering from drug addiction, has a mental health issue. And I can tell you in San Bernardino County, we have quite a few people that really have comorbidity. In other words, they're experiencing both issues.
Oh, wow.
And so when you have that, imagine the treatment's fairly vast. And then you might do a good job of having treatment on the inside where people are being taken care of. I mean, literally, if you get arrested in San Bernardino County and you go to a jail, you're in front of a nurse right when you get booked. And every medical ailment you ever had is documented. If you do have mental health treatment going on, those are the same questions that are asked, because we really want to provide that continuity of care for that person, because it's been our experience, in certain circumstances, particularly being incarcerated, people can degrade their mental health condition and a few of those things.
Yeah.
So how do we stay on top of that? Or if they're really undiagnosed, how do we get them diagnosed and get them into the correct amount of treatment?
Yeah.
So again, people don't really think that cops look at it this way, but there's so many things that we do even on the outside that I have a Sheriff's Hope team. It's homeless outreach and proactive enforcement. Well, those folks, and this is where I can give you numbers, and it kind of puts it into perspective. In San Bernardino County, we use an app that was actually built by Esri, which is in Redlands out there, a great company. But what it does is when they contact Shannon Dicus, who happens to be homeless, it geolocates where I was contacted at and contacts just some information. And it really goes along with, okay, how do we help him as he's navigating this homelessness piece. And of course, we offer different things. Hey, do you want to get help? Do you want a roof over your head? And offer those types of services. So as they go through that, we find that a lot of people don't. And you got to remember, when you go for services, maybe you have to be in by 10 o'clock at night. Maybe you have pets. There's rules. You don't want to go by the rules. And so when I say that, and the reason I'm kind of building up to this is you asked about stats. So we do on average somewhere in the neighborhood of about 6,000 contacts. Now, that isn't 6,000 individuals. When you boil that down into multiple contacts of the same individual, we come down to somewhere in the neighborhood of a little over 2,000 people, maybe closer to 2,500 depending on the year. And so when you boil that down, now you also boil it down to, okay, why? Why are they in the condition they're in? Some of the folks that are just having some bad socioeconomic issues, we can generally help pretty fast. We mentioned you and me being veterans, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of vast resources for veterans out there.
Absolutely.
So, reaching out to some of those and making connections with different things they may have never understood were support systems for them. But then you go to the rest, and we go back to the ones that don't want to abide by the rules, don't want help, or things of that nature. When we look at those, you drill down the 6,000 to that 2,000-ish folks, and somewhere in the neighborhood of probably just under 2,000, most of them have comorbidity issues of substance abuse and mental health issues.
So going with both. Sounds like you put a lot of effort into making the community a better place. You personally and your department. How about you? Let's talk about you a little bit. I mean, being on this job for so long, 34 years of service, and on top of that, you served your country. So you spent a great deal of your life. You're a pretty young man, so you spent a great deal of your life in service. Life is not perfect. What kind of ups and downs have you experienced through this time, and how did you find a way to navigate through it? Did you have support through your department, through your fellow officers? So how do you deal with personal ups and downs, whatever those may be for you?
Well, just being the sheriff, a lot of personal ups and downs, particularly navigating this job, are when my deputies get hurt. I've had deputies die in the line of duty since I've been the sheriff. And I got to tell you, that is the absolute worst. You've got them going out and doing all the things to serve their communities, and then they end up being hurt, killed, injured. And it just amazes me, number one, about the courage that they have. When you talk about service, sometimes when I get interviewed, everybody thinks it's all about me as the sheriff. It's really about, I have amazing people that have that same level of service to go out there and do that. And the problem is since I've been the sheriff, we've experienced about 76 officer-involved shootings since I've been the sheriff. And I started in 2021, Paul, being appointed to sheriff when my predecessor, John McMahon, left. So why am I telling you that number?
It's a lot of shootings.
It's a lot of shootings. And it used to be, if we were even 5-7 years ago, certainly 10 years ago, and you and I were having this same conversation, if we would have had 2 in San Bernardino County, it would have been a lot.
What is the spike? What is this? What do you think this is leading to these spikes in shootings? And is it just the culture today? Is it?
I think there's a number of things. And again, I hate to put political lenses on it, but I have to analyze what's really going on, whether is it contributed to drugs. But I can tell you one thing, ghost guns, a couple of my officer-involved shootings where my deputies have been shot at or shot with ghost guns.
What is a ghost gun?
A ghost gun is a firearm where you can purchase the parts off the internet that is not serialized, in other words, going through the normal manufacturer, or they can be produced with a 3D printer.
Oh, wow.
And so prohibited people are able to purchase the parts and make a working gun that's no different than the firearm that I'm wearing right now, which is a polymer Glock. They can make these polymer firearms. And so what we're seeing, and this is going back to data, because I know I already sensed you're a data guy. So the Department of Justice, out of all the counties in California, San Bernardino County is number 2 for recovering ghost guns.
Wow.
Number 1 is LA County, and we're only separated. This is the second year in a row that this data has come to fruition. So when you think about it, let's think about population. So we have 2.2 million people in San Bernardino County. LA has 9 million. So that's a little astounding. Why can we be so close and competitive with Los Angeles?
Yeah.
And I think it's a number of things. And unfortunately, this also gets into the political eye sometimes, but I support my people to go out there and do their job. If we use this philosophy that what Mom told us, nothing good happens after 2 a.m.
Yeah.
Officers, their experience. This is what we fail to talk about when you hear about things on the news. You have experience. You may be at 2 a.m. and a simple traffic stop, a tail light out, a license plate light out, something like that. Well, why are you even bothering with that? And you shouldn't stop me and you shouldn't do these things. Well, think about it. 2 a.m., there's a lot of different outcomes. Let's just walk through that for a second,
sure.
okay? At 2 a.m., Shannon Dicus gets stopped. The deputy comes up and says, hey, I stopped you because your taillight was out. We have a quick conversation. Hey, what does Mom say? What are you doing out here at 2 a.m., right? Just chit-chat. Now, the driver doesn't have to tell you while you're out there. Just, hey, I'm just going to give you my driver's license and my registration. But we're human beings. You usually chit-chat, right?
Sure.
So, and then Shannon Dicus responds with, well, hey, I'm an ER doctor. I'm getting called in because we just had a gunshot victim roll in there, and I'm on my way to work right now. Oh, do you have your ID? Oh, I look at their ID, their work ID. Oh, yeah, they're good. Hey, doc, sorry. I think most reasonable people would expect their law enforcement officer to, number one, make sure the person's not on America's Most Wanted, but once they realize what the situation is, hey, doc, I hope I don't see you tonight, and get out there and keep helping people, right?
Right.
Wouldn't that be kind of what you expect?
Yeah.
So let's take the same traffic stop, 2 a.m., Shannon Dicus, and they come up and the deputy's trying to do chit-chat, says, hey, Shannon, what's going on? Why are you out here at 2 a.m.? Oh, I'm visiting my mom. Oh, okay. Where does your mom live? Over there. Oh, what street does your mom live on? I forgot. Oh, so you know how to drive there? Yeah. Your mom's up at 2 a.m.? Yeah. So anyway, get the driver's license and registration, and you go back. That makes it a little strange, right?
Yeah.
Just a little.
Yeah.
So your spidey senses are up. But then when they run Shannon Dicus's driver's license, you find out that Shannon was arrested for possession of methamphetamine 2 weeks before. So what happens is I'm a trained law enforcement officer. The deputy's trained to take a look at Shannon. Well, Shannon's not giving me the greatest answers on the little chit-chat, and he was recently arrested. So when I go back and make contact with Shannon, there are physiologically things that happen to our bodies when we use illegal narcotics. And don't get me wrong, some prescription drugs can do this too. Yeah. But you figure out what's going on through the investigation you're doing. And lo and behold, you go take a look at Shannon, you look at his pupils. There are indications as you talk to him, a thick coating on the tongue, the way the pupil size are, that are specific to a stimulant, specific to a depressant. And you start developing what we call reasonable suspicion. That Shannon, yeah, he's out at 2 a.m., doesn't have really good answers, but he's driving under the influence, possibly. So then we get Shannon out based on everything that we've led up to in this conversation. We do field sobriety tests just like you do for DUI. Shannon doesn't pass those. That's called probable cause now at that point, and Shannon is arrested. Now, let's go back to ghost gun and numbers. I'm going to tie it in here for you. So Shannon gets arrested for that, but Shannon's driving Mom's car. Mom has a nice car, and we don't want to upset Mom, so we either got to call Mom to get it or we got to have it towed, and we inventory the car first. What did I find underneath the driver's seat of Shannon's car?
Pistol.
The gun. And that is experienced law enforcement officers. It's not us messing with anybody. It's not anybody stopping because of their color or the skin. It's the experience of a law enforcement officer.
Right.
So that's what's happening out there, and unfortunately a lot of these things get politicized. But when you do the comparison of 9 million people in LA and 2.2 million people in San Bernardino County, what I want citizens in our county to know is that, look, we are trying to get to the criminal element before they get to you.
Yeah.
And that's why you do it. You use your experience. You use that experience you and I talked about in the jail from talking to literally hundreds of these people.
Yeah.
Talking about addiction. What does that look like? What do you go through? What does it make you do?
Right.
And so
you're getting that research done in the jail. You're bringing that out.
You're getting all that research done. You become an experienced law enforcement officer. And I know you're asking, kind of making the question about me, but when I see my deputies getting hurt, that is the worst that it can be. And when I see the courage, I had one of my deputies, Paul, he was attacked. A guy that had a AK-47 unloads 30 rounds into the front end of his patrol car. And the deputy kind of ducks down, tried to get, beyond the dash. And the deputy ended up getting taken to the hospital. Thank God he wasn't shot directly. He was shot. The shrapnel hit him. But the car started on fire. That's how many rounds. Cars don't start on fire very easy. It's not like the movies where you see somebody shoot a gun and the car blows up, right?
Right.
So they don't start on fire very easy. Well, this car started on fire with all the rounds that were fired at the deputy. But I go to the hospital to visit with the deputy. He's laying there, have shrapnel all in his face, bleeding all over the place. If you can imagine, almost like what you would imagine somebody would look like if they got shot in the face with birdshot, for instance. Right. So he's bleeding. And next to him is this lady that is his mom. He was more concerned about introducing me to his mom than what was actually happening in the moment. And his mom spoke Spanish, and he's sitting there bleeding from his face and has the courage and the wherewithal and was proud to introduce the sheriff to his mom. Yeah. So I was obviously very proud to meet his mom, but really proud of him.
Yeah.
Because look, I mean, that's the way they think. These things happen to us, and then, hey, we've got the next call. We've got to do this next thing. So we spend a lot of time on wellness too.
Wow. Yeah, that's just hearing that, I could see the emotions it brings to you. And I mean, that's what makes it so rough too, right? It's like these sheriffs, I mean, you're out there doing your job. You're trying to do some good and put some bad guys away and protect us and then for whatever reason, this guy with an AK-47, who knows what the reasons are, what laws he's out there breaking. I mean, that's infuriating, It makes it really difficult. I want to segue into another thing. We're talking about protecting the community. Another big aspect when I was doing some research on you and what you do and what you advocate for, but another thing is protecting businesses. And which is very interesting because I had interviewed a sheriff one time, and they were talking about we were talking about the protests that were going on and just how like people don't think about when they're doing those things and they're vandalizing these properties and how it drives small business owners out of their community because they're being. So how important is that? It's something we don't really think about. That when we think of law enforcement, we just think about police officers and arresting bad guys, but we don't think about how involved they are in protecting the community, not just from crime, but keeping businesses affluent and able to stay afloat and work. Because, I mean, that's a big deal, right? You need businesses to do good for your community to have an income flow. So I don't know if all that makes sense. So
Paul, it actually makes perfect sense. And I'll try to classify it in a couple of different ways. Okay. So number one, to run the sheriff's department, our budget's over $1 billion right now. So when you think about a cop, it isn't just learning as you go up through the ranks. It really is learning the business of law enforcement too. And it is taxpayer funded. So when you think about that, what taxpayers, the folks that are going out and working in your community, the folks that own businesses in your community, the folks that are developing land in your community, I mean, you name it. And really, if you understand what you're doing, number one, what's our backbone? Our backbone here economically, logistics, and also we're still affordable in terms of housing. Yeah. So a lot of folks that may be working in the LA basin live out here.
Right.
So our county has this philosophy, and it's been developed, and I kind of live by this because this is something I thought was very important, but it's our county vision. And the concept of our county vision is really from cradle to career. What are we doing as government entity to assist you through your path in life, no matter what that is? So what I look at as law enforcement is if you're spending your human capital, certainly your financial capital, property, whatever comes along with you being a business owner, where the partnership is directly with that deputy sheriff out on the street is protecting it. You can't always be there. You want to be somewhat rest assured that when you come back in the morning to do your day's work, that your property is still there and things are being taken care of, or heaven forbid something happens to it, somebody's going to do something about it. But you mentioned the protests. Yeah, our local businesses get targeted in some of these things, and it's nothing that local business has any care and control over. These are big overriding policy issues or a number of things. And here's the thing. We live in a country, thank God, that we can protest and do those things. But when you cross the line and you're committing either violence or property, that's when the line stops with me.
Yeah.
I'm not going to let, where I can prevent it, our businesses be affected by that. I want that county vision to be alive and well for productive members of our society and know that this is the place to come. This is the place to pursue your dreams, and we are going to protect them.
Yeah.
And so it's very easy to kind of make that association. But also going out and meeting these people. You know, when you talk to developers, we've got big projects going on. We've got one going on up in the desert right now.
Yeah.
A lot of homes. Well, you think about it, they're actually talking about the way they structure the homes, and they talk about kindness and all these other things that, you know, as a society we kind of struggle with sometimes. But they have this vision of what people are wanting now. Micro parks, having a fire station, having the police station inside their shopping centers, and building more of an experience, not just a roof over your head, but an experience that you can live in. Well, for that, what I want their experience to be, and I equate it to this. If you're going to Walmart right now, and if you and I are being honest with ourselves, let's say, when we get out of the car, do we look over our shoulder first?
Always.
Always. My Pollyanna view of the world is I want you to be able to pull in that parking lot, your spouse to pull in the parking lot, and not think about anything else other than what they need from Walmart.
Yeah.
But that isn't the reality of where we're living at nowadays. So it's our job to protect that. And again, I know the deputies feel that, and they go out and they do it. And I couldn't be more proud of them for doing so.
Yeah, I love that. And I agree. I couldn't be more proud of what y'all are doing too. You know, I'm very grateful every time I see law enforcement or anybody out there, you know, getting after it and putting in work to make our area safer.
Hey, sorry. I was wondering. I hate to interrupt your thought.
No, it's okay.
Please finish your thought.
Yeah.
I think we're coming up on 30 minutes.
Okay.
Only one thing that I want to throw into the mix of the conversation is it's kind of a plug, but
Sure.
asking Deputy Dicus what kind of opportunities there are for young people to get involved in law enforcement.
Yeah, that's exactly what. Yeah. I was just segueing.
Okay.
Well, I wasn't going to say just necessarily young people, but I'll add that. I was going to just say, as a community, how can we? Yeah. I was just going there.
So community and
young people, sure.
I know specifically there are like a lot of great opportunities that he talked about when we met about a month prior.
Perfect. Yep. Okay. I'll segue right to that.
Thanks.
Yeah. So I'm definitely always grateful when I see law enforcement out there. You know, I grew up in a time when the community was still stood behind law enforcement. There was like an understanding. I grew up, you know, partially between LA and New York City. My father's from New York City, so I did spend, you know, like junior high and high school in New York City. But it felt like it was a different time, and we would see law enforcement. Everybody had respect for them, and even the bad guys. There were bad guys, and there were the good guys, and there was still this like line that was a line of respect, and you kind of knew who you seen. Today, I feel like. I don't know if you feel that same love from the community, but what I want to ask is, how can the community, what would be like a perfect situation for you besides that we could get out of our car and feel safe? How can we help back? Like, what can we give back to support you in law enforcement and to let you know that we care and we appreciate what you do on the daily? And with that, what opportunities are there for younger people that want to get involved in law enforcement? What things are existing out there for them?
Paul, those are all great questions. So we'll kind of back into this just a little bit,
Sure.
But so the whole respect issue, there has been a change. I think we can all, if you watch the news, and some of it was it related to the pandemic, protests, you know, whatever. There is some societal changes and some societal shifts. Some people believe it, you know, it's political oriented or whatever. Mm-hmm. I would certainly, if I'm talking about the perfect world, is more moderation. I think everybody should be able to share their thoughts. People not get upset about it. We have coffee or whatever together, and we share how we feel. But to understand law enforcement is what I'd really ask about what's going on. Because when you see things that we do on the news, let's just face it, it looks bad. If you have a use of force with a person, it doesn't look good. And there's so many things, oh, well, that looked extreme, that looked like that. But we have no idea what led up to that, all the way to the radio call. How do you know the officer wasn't told over the radio that the person's armed?
Right.
And so you come into those situations differently. So actually walking in their shoes is important for a citizen. We have a number of ways to do that. You can get involved with us by being a citizen on patrol. We put you through a little a mini academy. But one of the things that's really great, going back to our businesses, well, if you're a businessman and you happen to be on vacation, you can call the local station, and the COPs, Citizens on Patrol, will actually go out and check your business for you. and your home. And they do a number of services for that, and they help really keep things moving. That's strictly volunteers. Search and rescue, if you're an outdoors person and you like hiking. I mean, we go all the way out here to Mount Baldy under snow conditions, mountainous conditions, where people need to be rope experts. I mean, a number of these things. Aviation. Our county's 20,000 square miles and takes 4.5 hours to drive across. We have deputies that are on the dive team that do boat patrol out on Lake Havasu. So it's really understanding the vastness of what's going on. And so going back to what young people want to do, it's actually kind of exciting. You can come and work in a county where you can be up in kind of the mountainous resort community. You could be down in a very urbanized city. You could be out in the desert. Maybe you like off-road activities and things of that nature. I mean, San Bernardino County for a young person really has it all. And when you talk about some of these kids, let's talk foster youth. I go and I talk to some of these kids that are aging out. And imagine that, being 18 years old, not having a family for a support system. And don't get me wrong, a lot of our foster families are great. They still continue to support those kids. But let's say you're in a situation where that doesn't happen. Will they never, would any of them ever think about going to the sheriff's department as an opportunity? No. Matter of fact, most of them probably had negative contacts with the cops, parents taken away, domestic violence, whatever the case that kind of led them to the situation they ended up being in. But I talked to them about, hey, and this is the way I usually phrase it, what can some old white dude with no hair tell you about what, your life could be? And that kind of catches them a little bit. And so when I talk to them about that, I say, look, a lot of the jobs we have, they're supported by unions. And those unions will pay for college. You go out and at least get a C, you come back and they'll reimburse you for your books and tuition. Wow. So there are ways to get out of their situation, and we have a ton of entry-level jobs. So don't discount us just because you may not like cops. And then, of course, being a deputy, everybody thinks that's the only job we have. Well, I have over 4,000 employees. I've got dentists and doctors and deputy sheriffs and deputy sheriffs that range through SWAT, if you like to do the really exciting stuff, crimes against children, homicide, where you can kind of really specialize and you find your interest along the way and help your community in something that you're passionate about. So for a young person, it's great. So when you hear these things on the news, that all cops are bad or defund the police or whatever's going on, it's really disappointing, and it has affected our ability to recruit. I think up until recently, have we start to see the numbers kind of come back. And it's not just law enforcement, it's the service. You and I started off with really the Army-Navy thing, right?
Yeah. Recruitment was at an all-time low not too long ago. Now it's like...
Now it's different.
It's at the highest levels in years.
Patriotism, that protection mechanism that's in really all of us. Females, I'm seeing more females graduate from the Sheriff's Academy. And when you talk about diversity, I invite anybody to come see one of our Sheriff's Academy graduations, and these kids are doing amazing things, and it doesn't matter what walk of life they're from. We don't look at that. We want somebody that's going to come in and be engaged with their community and do what we teach them to do, and heaven forbid that they ever have to use any of the things that we teach them to do.
Man, that's fantastic. Is there a lot of marketing that goes into this? Is there like a good marketing budget? Like, I've never heard of a lot of this stuff. So it's so great that we're able to put this out there on our podcast and stuff, because hopefully it reaches a lot of young people, like especially residents in National Corps housing that, are young, very smart, intelligent people coming out of high school and looking for ways. But is there a lot of marketing that goes in like to the high school levels that young people know about these opportunities? Or
So there is, Paul. We visit high schools. We put on a number of events. We put on a number of events at our Sheriff's Academy where we bring out the dive team boats, helicopters. Nice. I mean, we bring everything out. We do a lot of career events. We're hooked up with all of the military branches. So if a person is ending their tour of service, like Army, for instance, and I'm not trying to make this an Army thing for you Navy people.
And the Navy.
But Army has what they call Army Pays. So about 6 months before you end your tour of service, you can start processing with us. So you literally walk off from one job onto another.
Nice.
And then the other thing that we do is these events are actually done at high schools. So what the Army does, and other branches of the service, is they start talking to the kids, okay, you got to be 21 to be a cop, but let us help you bridge the gap.
Go in the military.
Nice. And then, when we're all young, that's generally where, you start from being a teenager up through 25, especially for guys. That's usually where you're going to get in trouble. So how do you occupy that time with something positive?
Yeah.
And so that's the partnership that we see out there. And we advertise it. We talked about the jails. On our jail buses as they travel our inmates around the county to and from court, big plastered signs that you can get the QR code off of. I mean, we spend a lot of time doing that.
Smart.
And same thing online, social media. We have a pretty big footprint, and they do an amazing job. And for any young person out there that would certainly think about the Sheriff's Department, and it's any of the facets that we do, I would encourage them go to sheriffsjobs.com, see what's available. You'll see it's not just all cop stuff. But if that interests you, I need them more than they need me, Paul.
That's amazing. That's great. I have a quick question on the military. Do you still, if you're coming from the military into the getting on the job in the department, does your time carry over? Or they used to do that, I believe, years ago. I'm not sure. In New York, they did.
For the military, they do.
They do still do that.
So what they do
That's
is
huge.
they offer you to essentially buy that time back and make it part of your retirement.
Amazing.
And that is huge.
It's a huge benefit for young people.
It's a huge benefit because then, a lot of people think, oh, well, I wasted my time. No, you never wasted your time.
Not
You
at
didn't
all.
waste a minute of it. That time will apply to your retirement. And I know San Bernardino County is one of those agencies that allows for that. San Bernardino County does.
That's incredible. I would love in the future, if ever possible, our production team to come out to any of these kinds of events and, do any kind of promotion for you guys, like some of these diving events or anything that's pretty cool. And, who knows? Maybe we come out and document some of it and, in the future.
We'd love to do that. And it's, a lot of people, the rah, the excitement jobs. But there's also a lot of people that are really into a number of other things. Like I talked about wellness just briefly. We've got a whole staff that works on wellness because obviously a law enforcement officer, they see things that are kind of hard to digest, if you will.
Right.
And so, and more importantly, maybe the law enforcement officer is fine with it, but what about their family? Right. So we've got folks that focus on that. We've got public affairs folks that what is the image of the sheriff, the elected sheriff? What does the sheriff do during the day? Who's capturing all the things that I do? Because, people vote for the sheriff. Yeah. How do we get across to them the work we're doing for them? Both the boots on the ground and then me as the elected official that's really the figurehead for the community and transferring the knowledge that I get at public meetings and public events into how we police. Yeah. And is that coming across in a manner that, the public supports? And I got to tell you, I wouldn't imagine doing this job or being the sheriff in any other county than where I'm at. We're supported. We have the greatest citizens out there that do support law enforcement. It's a far cry from some other areas that aren't too far from us,
right.
that really do appreciate what happens. And then I try to make sure that, like you talked about businesses, heaven forbid any of those things come to our front doorstep, I can promise you I'm pushing back.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I believe you. You're doing a great job, Sheriff, and we support you and we're behind you, and we're grateful you came. But listen, before we end it, just because you're a sheriff doesn't mean you get off the hot seat easy. Everyone who comes on the podcast, before we end, I ask them to do something. I ask them to look into that camera. Somebody's watching this interview and I don't know, emotions are moving and they're getting inspired. What advice do you have for them to pursue what it is that they have passion to do like you did?
Well, I think what I'd like to see anybody do, and we had a conversation, we talked about young people, but it's really any of us. It's funny, even in law enforcement, I'm seeing people that have life experience. Don't ever underestimate yourself. Realize the things that you've done in your life matter. Even if you've made mistakes in your life, sometimes that life experience, especially in the career of law enforcement, will make you that much better of a law enforcement officer because you understand things that maybe the lay person that didn't have those experiences understand. So don't be afraid. Come out and live your dreams and live in a county that does have that vision that how do we help you from cradle to career? And we are here to help you. Even law enforcement, even when we make an arrest, we are helping. And that's what we believe in our heart of hearts, and that's why we do this job. And even when you see things that look bad in terms of force, a shooting or something like that, take time to step back and try to realize what's actually going on in every one of those events. And then I want to reassure everybody else too that when we don't do the right thing, that's when I step up to the plate and I tell the public we didn't do the right thing and it's my job to handle it.
Wow, fantastic. It's been an honor having you on. I really do. I'm really grateful to have this moment and so insightful. And, I'll keep rooting.
Paul, I'm going to take you up on your offer. You get out there and cover some of these events we do. We would certainly love to have you.
Love to do it.
I'm really proud of the men and women that are out there doing what's a pretty hard job right now.
Yeah.
And but they're amazing. And I think when you get a chance to interact with them, you'll think this interview is second rate compared to what those folks out there are doing.
No, I doubt that. I'm very inspired, man. This was awesome. You know, I didn't know what to expect sitting down with you, and you know, I mean, you're a high profile guy, and you have so much responsibility, and it was really cool to sit down and just really see the passion that's in your eyes about it. That's mainly what I'm an expert at, is sitting down with people and finding out when people are actually passionate about what they're doing, and it sounds like you care a lot, and you're very intelligent, and you see the big picture, and you have a big responsibility on your hand. It's not just making an arrest as much as it is getting a whole community to thrive in a city, and from every level, from the addict, like you mentioned, that's incarcerated, that just needs a little bit of help and a second chance, all the way up to the billionaire that wants to build some businesses here to give some jobs to the working class guys like me and you. So You're doing a great job, man, and you know, we're supporting you. So thanks for coming on.
I appreciate it, Paul. We're built for it. Just bring it. Whatever comes our way, we're built for it.
That's it. Let's keep going.
Yes, sir.
You should never stress about the problems you be facing. Everybody in the mud on the struggle trying to make it. Look into the mirror and you see the motivation. Then you step into the world and you find your inspiration. I'm finding inspiration, and once I get a hold of it, I'll never get complacent. Look into the mirror and you see the motivation. Then you step into the world and you find your inspiration.